If you're getting ready to sell your home, you're probably thinking about big, pricey renovations. But what if I told you the biggest bang for your buck comes from the smallest, easiest fixes? We're about to dive into how simple, strategic maintenance can build huge buyer confidence and really boost your final sale price.
So let's start with the most important question you need to ask yourself. Because believe me, the second a potential buyer walks through that door, your house starts talking. It starts telling a story, and every little detail, good or bad, is a part of that narrative. So is it a story of pride and care, or one of neglect?
And this quote right here, it gets to the very heart of buyer psychology. A loose doorknob isn't just a loose doorknob. Oh no. To a buyer, it's a red flag. It's this tiny seed of doubt that gets planted in their mind, and it can grow into a huge concern about the real condition of the house.
You see, there's this massive gap between how a seller sees a tiny problem and how a buyer fears it. You, as the seller, you see things you've lived with for years. A slow drip from a faucet, a handle that jiggles a bit. No big deal, right? But a buyer, they see something totally different. They don't just hear a drip. They imagine a catastrophic plumbing failure hiding in the walls. They don't feel a jiggle. They start to question the fundamental upkeep of the entire property.
So, the whole point is to flip that story around. Your goal isn't just to fix stuff, it's to project a feeling. You want your home to scream, without you ever saying a word, that this place has been loved, it's been meticulously cared for. That feeling of confidence and pride, that's what you're really selling.
And that feeling, it actually has a name, perceived value. This has nothing to do with the cost of 2x4s or new countertops. It's all about the impression of quality and reliability. When a home has high perceived value, buyers just feel better. They're more excited, they're more comfortable, and you know what that leads to? Yep, stronger offers and a much faster sale.
Okay, so how do we actually create this perceived value? It all starts with a smart, simple plan. Think of this less as a chore list and more as a strategic checklist. These are the small fixes that pack the biggest psychological punch.
First things first, the interior polish. We're talking about the details that buyers see and physically touch right away. Tightening a doorknob gives an instant feeling of solidity. Fixing a drip gets rid of an audible annoyance. A fresh bead of caulk and a few paint touch-ups, it just makes the whole place feel clean, fresh, and new. None of these are big jobs, but their combined effect is so powerful. They create this undeniable sense that your home is truly move-in ready.
All right, next, let's look at systems and safety. You know, a squeaky door is just annoying, but a loose railing, that's a legitimate safety issue in a buyer's mind. Clean gutters tell them you're on top of preventing water damage. A new, clean HVAC filter quietly suggests you've taken care of the really expensive systems. These little fixes send a huge message of competence and responsibility, reassuring buyers that the stuff they can't see is just as well maintained as the stuff they can.
Now this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work out in the real world? Well, let's look at a perfect example. This case study from Dartmouth shows exactly how these little efforts translate directly into real, tangible value.
So, here's the setup. It was a great house, you know? Structurally sound, great location, it had great bones. But it had all those little nagging issues we've been talking about. A sliding door that kind of stuck, a couple of those annoying drips, and walls that just showed the normal wear and tear of life. Individually, none of them were deal breakers, but you add them all up and they just started to chip away at that all-important perceived value.
So the seller decided to spend just one weekend tackling that checklist. Just one. And the result? It was honestly transformative. I love the way it's described here. The home felt tighter, cleaner, and more intentional. It wasn't a different house, but it was telling a completely different story, a story of meticulous care.
And this quote just nails the outcome perfectly. That feeling of confidence wasn't just for show. It was real. Buyers could feel it when they walked through. It showed up in all the positive feedback they gave. And, most importantly, it showed up in a strong, successful offer. Those tiny fixes built trust. And that trust became the very foundation of the entire sale.
Okay, let's bring it all home. The biggest takeaway here is that you absolutely do not need a sledgehammer or a giant budget to make a dramatic impact. The real drama isn't in some massive renovation. It's in the incredible results you get from small, smart, strategic actions.
This is the bottom line, right here. When you take care of the details, you're not just fixing a house, you're actively building trust. A reassured buyer is a confident buyer. And you know what a confident buyer does? They compete for your home, and they feel good about paying what it's truly worth.
So as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this to think about.
Whether you're planning to sell next week or maybe next year, what is the one small thing you can fix right now to start telling a better story with your home? Because that first tiny step, that's the most important one you can take.